Hey guys, what's going on? It's WhatInTheBass, and today we're out here kayak fishing, but this video is going to represent pond fishing the same way. We're going to be using the Rage Claw. We have two packs right here. We have one in green pumpkin, and we have one in blue flake here. So we're going to go ahead and use these all today. I'm going to go over the tips, tricks, and kind of hacks and how to use these guys. I'm going to talk basically like if you have never used this bait before and you're new to fishing. So can you go ahead and smash that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you later in the video. Let's get after it. So guys, today I'm going to be using a Mach 2 by Lose, and I have 15-pound fluorocarbon on here if you just want to know what line I am. This water that I'm in is very muddy and stained, so I'm going to use a colored Rage Claw like this. This blue flake should do very well in here. But if your water is clear and it's really not muddy at all, you're going to want to match the color bait you have. So say if the water's clear, I'm going to throw this green pumpkin if it matches the vegetation underneath. It's just like a little tip just to kind of go by your color, because this water is really muddy. So if I threw this green pumpkin in there, I don't think it would do very well because it would blend in, and I don't think the fish would see it nearly as well. And I'm going to go ahead and Texas rig that. For you guys who don't know what a Texas rig is, I'm going to make a separate video explaining this. Just dull it down just for the beginners, no big deal at all. And then I have a bullet weight on top. I let this hang free so I don't snag it at anything, and it should end up looking kind of like this. But we're going to go ahead and get these Rage Claws in here. Again, I'll have the link for all the products I used today in the description of the video, just to help you guys out and make it easier for you to find them. All right guys, so here I'm in the kayak, but this is the same for pond fishing and how to use these Rage Claws. You can play them a lot of different ways. That's why these baits are so good to use, especially as a beginner, because sometimes you actually don't know how you're playing them. So number one, I like to play it slow and crawl it on the bottom. I'm going to bring this bait closer to you guys. Do you see these little claws on here? They flutter once they're floating down into the water. So once you get it to the bottom and you drag it across, these little claws here still vibrate in the water. That makes it very effective in muddy and cloudy water, kind of like what I'm in right now. So you're going to go ahead and cast straight out, and you can let it sink straight down. Just let it hit the bottom. See, I have a little extra line here. That means it's fully in the bottom. You can go ahead and crank a little bit here and just work it slowly on the bottom. Just reel it in a little bit, let it sit. See if you get any activity. Reel it in a little bit. And just, you can keep going to that. Second way I like to play this is, let's go ahead and cast out again. Let it hit the bottom. And then once it's on the bottom, you pull up, bringing this claw to the top of the water, and then letting it sink all the way back down. And what this is going to do is allow those tails to flutter down, like I talked about earlier, as it's sinking over and over repeatedly, hoping to get a fish's attention. Now this is a pretty good way to work it all the time. Each pond is going to be different, and just depending on the time of day and how these fish are actually working, how they're biting, you have to kind of play by that. So when you're at a new place, I would just go ahead and give 10 casts with the first method. We're just letting it sit in the water like we talked about, moving it slowly and just dragging it across. And then moving to, you know, a faster pace, dragging it up, picking it down, dragging it up, picking it down. You know, these fish will get a bite maybe both ways, but maybe you'll find a way that works better than others. Then the third way you can work this bait, which I kind of like doing because I like fishing pretty fast, is just throwing it out there and kind of letting it sink halfway down and just reeling it in slowly. And what this will do, it'll just flutter. Just normally those claws will be going, and they'll just normally kick. Now this is why this bait is so versatile and so great, is you can just play it so many different ways. Now guys, now that you know how to kind of work this bait, if you're new and if you're just getting into this, or if you've been fishing for a while but you didn't realize you can use this claw in so many different ways, it's just a nice bait to have in your arsenal at all times. I'll keep a set of these with me at all times, just in case you get cold or you find a pond that you like, and this is my go-to bait. I love using it. And in this video, I'm going to show you guys, you know, how effective it can be when you're kayak fishing in these cattails that I'm around, or bank fishing in ponds, in muddy water, in you know, water that has a lot of vegetation at the bottom. These are very effective crawling through it. I mean, they're not as effective in water that is like very, very clear, but at the same time, they work pretty well. So guys, we're gonna go ahead and just kind of work this kind of slow. Kind of the second way I told you, how we lift it up and let it sit back down. And we're gonna run it by these cattails. And if you were bank fishing, you would just run it on the shoreline. So if you're on the shore, you would cast kind of horizontally to you on the side, and you would kind of do this same motion. You can also do this casting straight out. It would still be the same thing. But I just find this a very effective way to fish, especially when you first get to a spot. And then if I don't get any bites this way, I'll move to playing it slower or faster depending on how I think the fish are going to be moving that day. Guys, when you're, testing out these new kind of ways to cast and to work this bait, I would go ahead and give it 10 to 15 casts per, way you use the bait. So 10 to 15 slow, 10 to 15 kind of medium, and then 10 to 15 fast. And now kind of gauge and see if you get different bites if you're fishing the same area. If you get no bites with all of it, maybe there's no fish. But if you get bites, when you're moving it fast or if you're moving it slow, you can kind of see how things work and how those fish are biting that certain day. And next time you go to that same spot, the fish might not be biting that same way you're moving the bait. It just could depend on the temperature of the water, the weather conditions, but that's a whole different story. It has nothing to do with this bait. Guys, it's not a bad fish we got first here. First fish of the day, not too bad. He does have another fish in his mouth. I'm gonna try to flip him around. I don't know if you can see this. He's got another little fish in his mouth there. Not bad for the first fish of the day. I didn't expect to get him at all, We got him as we got closer, but I was working this kind of fast. I was pulling it up, letting it sink down, pulling it up. He bit it as I was actually pulling it up. When usually on the claw, when it's trickling down, that's when they bite. But not a bad first fish of the day. We're gonna go ahead and get him back in the water and let him get back to work. Hey guys, what's going on? I hope you enjoyed that video. I know it was short today and we only got out there for a little bit. Only caught that one bass, but it was more of a tips and trick video for you guys who don't know how to use that lure. Again, if you haven't seen my channel, go ahead and click down below. Make sure you subscribe. I can't wait to see you in future videos. Love you all. See you later.